this is gonna get spoiler heavy. Wakanda Forever starts out in Wakanda, and we're in the past. Turns out Black Panther, King T'Challa, he has come down with an unspecified illness. No one. He apparently didn't tell anyone for a while, so kind of harkening back to real life. So Shuri is in the lab trying to figure this out, and she runs out of time, and sadly, Black Panther passes away. We get a funeral scene, a Wakanda funeral, and then we're off till 1 year later. And in that 1 year, stuff has been going down. An American boat, or I don't know what it is. Was it a boat? I guess just a boat, but an American boat gets attacked at sea. And everyone, this kind of freaks out the UN. We don't know what the heck's going on. Turns out Wakanda has these outreach bases around the world that have vibranium in them, and people want to steal that stuff. Also, the world leaders they kind of want their vibranium sharing that they were promised, but Wakanda doesn't want to do that anymore. So the first part's very like political kind of thriller. We also are told that American student has created a Dragon Ball a vibranium detector. And so Wakanda decides that they need to go after this student because they're the monopoly on vibranium. So it's off. They send Shuri and oh man, I'm blanking on her name, but anyone remember the guard's name?
Riri Williams.
The general's name.
Oh, the general.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I just saw this and I can't remember her name, but anyway, they send the general and they send Shuri off to America to find Riri Williams, as Thomas said. She is this brilliant MIT student. I'll go over that later. But turns out Wakanda's not the only one after her. This Atlantean type civilization is living under the water, led by their sort of god king Namor. Happens to be the first mutant in the MCU. So he's leading his troops, and Namor's troops and Wakanda's troops, they get in a fight over Riri Williams. They kidnap Riri and Shuri, take her back to the underwater paradise. And then the queen is like, oh crap, we lost our princess. So she hires Black Panther's old girlfriend that we all forgot about. And she's... apparently she was a spy and she's into the kind of stuff. So she goes and finds Shuri and Riri, brings it back to Wakanda. Namor's not happy. He gets out of the water and he goes to Wakanda and fights them all. They fight. Queen dies. Shuri's sad. Shuri, she gets this kind of like motivates her to create the heart-shaped herb again. So she does that. They get ready to fight. She drinks the heart-shaped herb. She sees Michael B. Jordan's like, "What's up?" and he's like, "What's up?"
I've just been working on Creed 3. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm still jacked as all get out.
He's got to fight Kang again in Creed 3, so we'll see that. Anyway, they fight. They go. They get Power Ranger suits. They fight the Atlanteans. Namor and Shuri fight. Shuri wins. They're happy. They go back. Well, it ends on a big somber note. Nothing. It doesn't feel like anyone wins in this movie. And then we have the after credits, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that's pretty much Wakanda Forever. It's pretty long. It was like a 3-hour movie. For me, I really enjoyed the movie up until the last act, and I think the last act it really fell apart. For for me, there's two major problems in this movie. But first, let's get to the good stuff. Uh, Angela Bassett and Letitia Wright give great performances, I thought. Basically, any actor like betraying a Wakanda citizen was really good at acting. The other like Americans and the Atlantic people, they had some trouble acting. But Angela Bassett, she's just buff for a 60-year-old woman. I mean, and she brings that power to her acting, and it was really good. Letitia Wright is like the heart of this movie. She goes through all the emotions. She did a good job for her part. The problem with this is everyone seems like a side character, and for me, the two main problems of this movie is it doesn't have a hero and it doesn't have like a villain. It has a bunch of good side characters in supporting cast, but it's really missing like the heart of the movie. For me, the last act is terrible. We get the Iron Heart or suit, which is Riley Williams' suit, and she's new to the MCU. If you remember America Chavez, she's pretty much the same character. She's a walking plot device. She's not like a character. She has no like human agency, and it just makes Marvel look terrible. I mean, they're trying to, and they're all about representation, but they can't like make a round character. But they just walking plot devices. Her suit is terrible. It looks terrible. It looks like Power Rangers the movie bad.
It looks like not a discount Power Ranger, but like a Power Ranger that we never got to see on screen, but they've just produced the toy anyway. That's how bad it looks.
It's bad. If you've seen that first Power Ranger movie, the CG in that movie looked great, like when we were kids. But now it looks like this suit. It's terrible. To a lesser extent, there's like two other suits that the Wakandas use to fight because they gotta fight underwater, so they make them these suits. They look bad too. It's just bad. It's terrible. Shuri, she's a good character. We loved her in Black Panther 1, and she's good in this. Letitia Wright's a good actor, but she just doesn't become the hero we need at the end. Like,
she's the one we deserve.
This whole movie, we're missing. I mean, they do a good job of making us miss Chadwick Boseman. I mean, everyone's sad when they look at that mural, and I mean, it brings like tears here because it was a big loss for us. But they just can't replace her, and they do this thing where they try to turn her to the dark side or whatever. Because of I'll get to that in a minute, but it just doesn't work. Namor, he's not a good villain in this. They go so far to make him sympathetic in the beginning that when he has like his heel turn at the end, it's just not believable. He just comes out like dumb. He's not Namor for the comics. Because Namor in the comics is like a major league.
Thank God.
Yeah, he's a major league a-hole in the comics. This one makes him try to be sympathetic and stuff like that. And it would work, for me, it would work if there was someone pulling the strings. I mean, could you imagine if Doctor Doom was like in this movie, like in the background pulling the strings? That would be so awesome. But instead we just get this like political fight that no one's really the bad guy between these two civilizations, and it just doesn't work for the movie. And then there's the end credits. Well, before the end credits, there's the final, like, I think it's the final scene. It's terrible. What's his name? Ross.
Martin Freeman?
Yeah, Martin Freeman. He's in this movie, but I don't know why. He's terrible. I mean, he's not terrible. The character's terrible. So he's going to jail to be executed, basically, because he's committed treason. And
But say he deserves to go to prison.
Yeah, rightfully so. He should be executed for treason. So his plotline is terrible. And then like the last thing, the Wakandans break him out, and they're like, "Hey, colonizer, you're in chains." It's terrible because like the one thing Wakanda's known for is for always having their freedom and never being conquered. So why would this person be calling him a colonizer? Because
it makes no sense in the world.
It makes no sense to the movie. And then you get to the end credits. This end credits got to be the worst end credits in the entire movie history. And I'll tell you, and it's not because what's in it. It's like a sweet little scene between Shuri and she finds out that she has a nephew and he'll probably be the next king, which is cool. But it destroys the whole movie because, as we learn, one of the first things she asks is like, "Did my mother know her?" And she's like, "Yeah." So it's like, wow, guys, you guys had this touching family reunion to send off my brother, and you don't invite me? Like, what the heck? I mean, I know she was working on a vaccine or something, but they could have Zoom called her. I mean, this is a universe where Captain Marvel Zooms calls them from another planet. You think they could have had her on the line?
Her Apple Watch acts as a defibrillator. I'm sure it has a Zoom call function.
I know. So
Her
it's
Apple
terrible.
Watch.
It makes the Queen and even Black Panther look like terrible people that they decided not to tell like his beloved sister that he actually had a son, and like her whole arc in this movie is trying to get over that grief of Black Panther, which is good during the movie, but you get to this part and it just totally destroys it. It's like you could have just told her and she would have been better the whole movie, and it's just like, oh my goodness, what have you guys done?
I didn't really think about that, but that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like, why do you keep it a secret?
Yeah, so I've talked enough. I'll talk later, but Alex, why don't we go to you and see what you thought about this movie?
Sure. I think this movie's at best okay. I was bored. It's too long. Very, very, way too long. Marvel's boring now. Everyone knows it. But one of my main problems with this movie, not Marvel related. The music in this movie is so distracting. The entire movie, I was so distracted. There was one really good musical moment, and it was during like an impactful emotional moment. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, okay, that was great. And then the rest of the movie, I was like, can we shut this up, please? There was at least that fight on the bridge that for some reason they decided to have completely like dead silent, which I liked. But I'm not even saying that you need things dead silent, but the music was so distracting the entire movie. And I think it's also because I was really tired watching this movie, and when I'm tired I get really irritable and cranky, and so I think that has something to do with it. But yeah, I need to probably watch this movie again, because I remember thinking like the first 3/4 of this movie I was like, this movie is boring, it's not going anywhere, I don't understand what the point in this movie is. And I don't think that the third act is like great, but I at least was like, okay, well, this is, I guess, what you're trying to say. And it like helped me understand what they were going for, even though it wasn't like you were saying, I totally agree. You nailed it on the head, Joe, when you said like, we don't have a hero like to root for, like, or even a villain to root against. It's like, who's who in this movie?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, at least the third act, it made me feel like I understood the movie more, which made me like it a little bit more. But I guess I'm just a little contrarian in this episode, because I also think that her Ironheart suit was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I think it was fine. But yeah, she was in this movie for kind of no reason. Yeah, I agree about the two main actresses. They were awesome. I don't really understand why the mom had to die. I don't really get that. It felt
It's
a
a
little
Disney movie.
I get it. Yeah, it's true.
Did it feel like she almost died off screen? Like that's because like you saw her like swim in the water and she saved Riri and they got up to the water and it's like, okay,
And
she's
then she was,
unconscious.
like,
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, she was fully conscious. Like,
You were
last time we saw
almost
her.
there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I guess she's unconscious. Okay.
Yeah. It just felt so like unnecessary. Like, why do we have to kill her? She's great. I mean, the sister's already grieving the brother's death. It's like, why do we need this other one? And then, which makes it even stranger at whenever she burns her mom's wrappings and they just show memories of her brother. Right?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That was
her brother's wrappings.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I thought too.
She never burned it in the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. I just now thought of that right before you said that. I was like, wait, maybe that was her brother. Because even when I saw that she was burning the wrappings, I thought it was her mom's, and I was like, has it already been a year? Because they do it like after a year or whatever. But that makes more sense. Okay. Complaint retracted. Yeah, this movie, God, Marvel is so boring. Disney itself is so boring lately. It's the boringest company in the world at the moment. That's all I have to say. This movie's fine. I'm gonna throw it to Jared.
But he can't see.
This is definitely definitely a phase 4. What are we, 4?
Phase 4, yeah.
I think it's like the end of 4. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely in that phase. And I like to believe that they're giving like the writers and stuff a little break after phase 3. So this is a little break period.
Just a vacation.
Yeah, just a little vacation.
This is the interns' time to shine.
This is their gap year.
Joseph said it right. It's a bunch of like side characters, and there's no like someone to latch onto in this movie. I like Shuri. She's a cool character. I've always thought she was pretty cool. She does not give off Black Panther energy. I like her as a scientist and like being smart, but like as a Black Panther, you're just like, even though that part's cool when she's fighting Namor and she has like the pole sticking out of her and she's just like, ah.
That should have cut her in half. I mean, the poor thing is skinny, man. Okay. That spear is huge. That should have cut her in half.
Okay, before we move on, I told Alex and Michael this. I'm like, I'm sorry, but when she does like that grand entrance into the cave, I was like, I'm not in. And I know women can be like fierce fighters, and this is the Marvel universe, but I'm sorry, she's 100 pounds soaking wet, and like she's going up against M'Baku, who's like one of the most intimidating guys I've ever seen. Like,
well,
ever.
Even the general's like intimidating, and
right?
She's a woman, and she's like serious.
Yeah, but she's just not intimidating. I'm just like, okay.
But she like jumped down in the big entrance you were talking about. I was like, "What is that? A wingless bat? What? What the heck?" It was not flashy or anything.
This is a contrarian episode for me for some reason, because I thought that was one of the best scenes of the movie. Like she got her suit, and I thought it was like, I don't know, I thought there was kind of a cool payoff, and I think I was going to say that I think her suit is really cool looking. I think that the Wakanda suit that she was making that look like predators are really ugly. I agree with her guard lady. But I liked that scene. I thought it was cool. I felt like I remember feeling like it was cool at first, and I can't remember what happened, and then it made it not as cool. But her dropping down, I felt like it was like, all right, let's go. And you know, Spider-Man's small, so
it's true.
Spider-Man. That's all I gotta say.
I'm not gonna say like Spider-Man's intimidating though.
Okay. Let me think about that for 1 second.
Go ahead, Jared. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'll talk about things I did like. Like Joseph was saying, Namor in the comics is like an insufferable jerk, and you just hate him. Yeah, I've never once been like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, or like, oh yeah, he's got a point. That is a terrible character. So getting this character is pretty good. I was like, oh yeah, he's like your Hispanic cousin. You're like, yeah, he's pretty cool. Like,
those ankle wings though, man, gosh, so lame.
They were pretty lame. But yeah, it was pretty cool, and like how they. No, that was lame too. I'm not gonna say that. But he wasn't as bad as the comic version. The whole like, even his people is like okay, I guess. Like the backstory, it's fine, not terrible. I could have hated this character. It's fine. Martin Freeman, that whole like American side of the movie, terrible, freaking awful. I don't know why it was in there. What's her name was terrible in it, and all her lines. But yeah, and then like the girl they're saving or trying to save from Namor's people, Ironheart or whatever. You could have taken her out of the movie, still would have been the same movie, which I hate. Like, he just says, like, why even have her in there? I might as well just, like, mention her. So, I didn't really like her character. The thing I did, I like seeing Michael B. Jordan again. I was like, holy crap. I wasn't expecting him, and I was like, awesome.
That was cool.
I even like his little speech. He's like, I get things done, as opposed to your brother who's just noble.
So how much cooler would it have been if he was Black Panther?
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying to Michael and Alex. It's like they just missed that like opportunity. Like they shouldn't have killed Killmonger.
Yeah.
I know, and he could have been good in like other movies going on too. Instead,
Yeah.
man.
Well, that's the
Take
thing.
him to
Like
the-
Marvel keeps killing their villains, and they need to stop. Like they need to
Yeah.
stop killing them.
Yeah.
Just take him to the Lazarus pit. You know, I know it's a different universe. But,
I know
you
there's so many ways they could have just explained his death.
I like Baku. He's always fun. He's being like the voice of reason in this movie.
Yeah, true.
He's
He's like the only normal person in this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of the comedy didn't hit with me. Except for Baku's, like he was pretty funny, but like the rest of the humor just wasn't hitting at all.
That dorm room scene was terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just a movie, just a okay movie, like everyone was saying.
Did you? I gotta ask this for you, Jared. Did you like the Rihanna song at the end?
No.
No.
No. I like Rihanna. Like there was a time for her, but it's not her time anymore.
The sun has set on her time.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention. I'll think about it when Michael's talking.
Oh. Yeah, I'm kind of with Joseph on this one. I'm very much like the first like 3/4, half to 3/4. I was like, oh, this is enjoyable. There's quality. I'm seeing what I want, and I had this idea in my mind. So this is where I thought the movie was gonna head in my mind. I thought we're getting to the point where you get T'Challa's wife back, whatever. She's been in hiding, whatever. So I feel like I thought they were building up her to be the next Black Panther. So I thought it was gonna be like this kind of like desperate scenario where they're making the flower and then the sister gets like knocked out or pushed aside or she can't reach it, whatever. She's like, you take it. I thought that's what was gonna happen. She let go of that world. Like she didn't want to be a part of it. So I thought they were gonna build her character to be like this, like resistant but accepting the responsibility of taking the mantle, whatever. I thought that would have been cool, and I feel like she has the presence that could actually make Black Panther intimidating. But it's so like literally when it hit the point where the sister late, I was like, no, it's not gonna happen. Like that's not what they're doing, right? And it kept happening. I was like, it's still, why is she? Please stop. And then she got out, and I was like, oh, okay, she doesn't have the power. Okay, we're fine. Then she punches the mannequin, and I was like, good lord. And then after that, the whole movie's terrible. Like it's bad, so freaking bad. The whole culmination scene, the whole Namor like Namor was super intimidating up to the point where he's like floating in front of them, or after the queen dies, he's floating in that spot, and he's like, dude, I'm gonna come back in a week, I'm gonna whoop your butt. And he goes off, and you're like, okay, cool. The guy has weird fairy wings, but it's cool. Like he's cool looking when he moves around and zips. And then just like they just ruined his character. He's completely uninteresting, like this weird, just awkward battle that I brought up afterwards. So we went and saw it in IMAX together. And you can really tell in IMAX whenever like the format shifts. And they have the format shift from IMAX camera, which is the entire flipping screen when they're in the ocean. And then they go beach and it goes boom. And it's like
as soon as she like hit the beach.
Yeah,
too,
literally hit the beach and it goes boom. And it's like it's big when you want a spectacle on the screen. It's big for moments like this 1v1 showdown of superheroes and villains, whatever. And like, and I mean, I was so beyond jarred. I was like, what? Like I was like, this is like a more intimate moment. This isn't like that's not what that's for. It was so bad. I don't know who the heck's choice that was. It was freaking terrible.
Well, again, they let the interns do this movie.
I
so
guess
they're like, hey, dude, Jerry, you filmed with the wrong camera for the entire last fight scene. Like,
don't
forgot the IMAX.
Just stretch it. They'll look tall.
You want like a better introduction to Namor? Just like glue that guy's face onto Black Adam and watch that movie. That's pretty much Namor.
Oh man. But yeah, they must have gotten like the interns because the editing of this movie too it's the only reason why this movie's this long. Like one, there's way too much slow-mo. There's slow-mo like going back to the scene where the queen dies and Namor throws the bomb at the window. And so
Which is ridiculous.
The scene goes him throw a bomb at the window goes poof, water goes everywhere. But you get this slow motion of all the water coming in.
It is every time they use those bombs.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not even joking.
That's true. Or if he punches for some reason. What's up, Jared?
I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but I remembered something. So at the end, or during the beginning, when they're like first meeting Ironheart or whatever her character name is, they go to her lab or whatever, and they show this car, and it's like, oh yeah, my dad was a mechanic. That is like a throwaway line, like. But at the end, she's like, "Oh, I rebuilt your car."
Yeah, as though it mattered.
Found every piece.
And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." Like, there's no emotional payoff to that at all. I was like, "This is."
Also, that didn't look like the same car. Like
It was.
it was.
It was in the
Well,
ocean.
it was-
The little suckerfish got it, and they sucked all the crap off it, and it popped up, went bloop. But yeah, so that scene, whenever it cuts there, like there's this things that it would have been so much more impactful. So after the slow mo scene of forever water coming into the thing that was unneeded, it cuts to a scene of the sister, and you see the tower in the background explode. It's like you have the bomb blow up, then it cuts to that scene. It's way more impactful. I was saying this after the movie. I was like, because it makes you feel detached and like helpless of what's going on in that moment, rather than just this special effect of water falling everywhere. I don't know. There's so much wasted time in this movie. Like
Hollywood's way too showy.
Yeah, I understand why Oxley was bored doing this movie, but I don't know. I'm tired of being disappointed in this junk, man. Like I thought this was going to be the good one, and it wasn't.
Me too.
It was fine. So
trailers were great.
Yeah, and I just cannot believe she's Black Panther. I genuinely did not think she was going to be it. I was like, oh, they're just trying to tease. They're tricking. Then it's gonna, oh, dramatic.
Especially because the whole beginning is like reject like tradition and stuff like that, and it's all about like science and progression. And she's like, oh no, I'll do it.
I honestly thought that the general was going to be the Black Panther. When they send her away, I thought she was going to be like doing something with the heart-shaped herb because they want to protect. They want a protector, and so
she's Platoon lady.
Squid lady. Okay. I thought you said platoon. I'm just
Platoon.
like
No, Splatoon. Splat. Anyway, yeah, this movie's okay. You can go ahead,
Thomas. Okay. Yeah, this was a pretty big disappointment for me. This movie should not have been 2 hours and 41 minutes. I'm sorry. There was no Avengers, I think, was 20 minutes longer than this movie. And
when I went to the theater, my little brother was like, "Hey, this is like almost a 3-hour movie." And I was like, "What are they going to be doing?" Like,
yeah, well, that's the thing is that they didn't do like enough for a 3-hour movie. I know it's not 3 hours, but we're rounding up, and like a lot of you guys have covered a lot of it, like the overuse of slow mo. There was no need to use that much slow mo for, like I said, it was every single bomb. Every single one of those Aztec bombs that they used, and
or like when they're fighting on the side of the ship in the ocean, and it's just like, instead of keeping this fast-paced action scene where you feel like you're in the moment, it's like, oh, we're gonna slow down and spin. Why do we need to see him spin in slow mo? I don't know, but we're gonna come around the other side. It's like it was like 3 times they did that just in that one scene. I was like, oh, kill me.
Well, and like what Joseph was saying is that there was no motivation for anything in this movie really to have to do anything. There was no villain. There was no like great threat that's out there. It's just, Namor being cranky. Okay. Go ahead, Jared.
This the whole like Namor people, did they remind you of Gungans?
Yes, thank you. Like the Booma. Yes, I was gonna say that.
Honor in the cave to go into the city. I was like, this is episode 1.
It's exactly what I thank you for reminding me, because like when they were throwing those giant or that massive ball of bombs at the ship, I was just like, this is freaking Gungans.
Yeah,
like really is.
They capture her and Ironheart, and he's like, "Misa like these."
Oh yeah, and her suit is absolutely laughably bad. Alex, you're drunk.
Yeah,
her suit. I almost burst out laughter whenever that suit came on screen.
I liked it.
You could have replaced Riri with the metal finder, and that would have been the whole movie, like literally. Like,
oh yes, I agree.
And I don't want to be super harsh, but I'm sorry, but that actress can't act. She was terrible. Like, I'm sorry,
a little off, but
well, she spoke too fast. I couldn't understand anything she was saying.
I could also see it just being the way the character was written too, though.
I can see that.
She had a lot going off of.
But like, you have to be comprehensive. You can't just not be understandable. And I didn't like Namor. I didn't like the switch from Atlantean to Aztecs, which I thought was weird. I also don't like Aztec, like, what do you call it?
Aesthetic.
Yeah, I don't like it. It looks too gross. The only thing I like is the Koto Khan, like, full, like, jaguar. That's the only thing I like about Aztec stuff, is that one warrior looks pretty cool. And I
You're
don't know,
getting
like,
really close to insulting the Road to El Dorado, and I'm
They
about to
played
be
the
real
game. You see
upset.
them play the game with the ball hoop
They
thing?
did.
Oh
They
my
did
God.
underwater.
Best part of the movie right there.
I didn't really like Namor. Okay, I don't like Namor in the comics either, but I didn't like this Namor either. I thought his motivations for everything were like almost like fascistic and like
It was very
almost
extreme. Whenever
well,
he
not
seemed-
like-
he seemed reasonable.
like almost like Nazi-ish, because he's like, we just need to take out a few powers and then we can rule the world. I'm like, all right, Aztec Hitler, whatever.
He's like, his
Go
big
ahead.
plan is the one country that can like sympathize with his country.
Yeah.
We're gonna fight them.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, oh, look, they're betraying the Soviet Union. What do you know? It's the Ribbentrop tactic all over again. Yeah, with the American stuff that was stupid. And like I was saying like to Joseph and like the guys, like, I'm sorry, but Martin Freeman's character, like, that dude committed high treason. He deserves to be put to death. Like, I'm sorry. That was so stupid. And the fact that he had the beads in his cell phone, like me and Michael, like, were cracking
We were
up. I'm like,
laughing,
did they
man.
pair? Like, is that like pairing?
Like Bluetooth
All right,
pairing
cool.
with the beads.
Yeah.
Oh, lost connection. Please try.
I know. I was just like, that's so stupid.
Oh yeah.
His American accent is
It
flawless.
really is good though.
It is
Mhm.
so
Like,
good.
Oscar worthy.
No dig on Martin Freeman. I like Martin Freeman as an actor. And
All the American stuff
but-
is trash.
yeah,
Agreed.
that was so stupid. And I'm sorry, they kept calling themselves the most powerful nation on earth. And I'm like, no, you're not. You haven't done anything. You literally have stayed in one spot. You haven't done a thing.
But they could, Thomas.
But they haven't.
Could.
They have
Doesn't
bird
mean
ships.
that they're not the
Thomas.
most
They have
powerful person.
bird ships.
Their
Well, like,
motivation
Namor
doesn't
said he was
really-
the most powerful, and he got his butt kicked. So I mean,
Their motivation doesn't really make a lot of sense either, Wakanda, because they're like, oh, we gotta protect this from you people. But
right?
Thanos almost like destroyed the world just by landing his ship on the planet. So it's
Yeah.
like maybe we could use some help.
Yeah.
Well, and it was just
I don't know about this, but one thing I wanted to mention is like, you know how vibranium, that meteor falling onto Wakanda made them advance and like all of that?
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen with the Namor's people? They're
Yeah,
like
true.
still like
Well-
tribal and not advanced at all.
Yeah.
well, they
have
never
to
they
live
never
underwater.
addressed that. They never addressed that either. Like how they got vibranium. It's just like that passing where I'm like, well, the Earth is made of 80% water, so I guess it was there, but we never confirmed that. We don't know what. Like, it was just very frustrating, and the Namor's like Aztec warriors were so inconsistent with their powers. Like, I think Alex mentioned,
Yes.
like, they got
Oh.
stabbed through the freaking like gut, were dead, and they're like, oh yeah, you can just get up, go back to Namor, and then that one woman in the cave gets shot, and like, oh, there's nothing we can do because it was a sonic weapon. I'm just like, huh?
Really close.
So
Sonic.
fast,
Plus, I
But
don't think Marvel knows how mutants work, because.
yeah, and well, that and like it in like that the one scene I did like, I liked the assault on the American mining ship scene. That was pretty like creepy and like
Oh yeah,
the
with
mermaid stuff. That was pretty cool. Like you didn't really
Yeah.
get to see them. But the one thing that kind of bugged me was like, can that agent just not shoot? Because she's like shooting at the guy, and
He
she's
just-
like hitting like his
Oh, yeah.
tiny bit of armor right around his neck, but not him. His giant gut, nothing. He's just like, oh no, there you go. And
Maybe
so
it's magnetized so the bullets are forced to hit
I
the
guess I was just like, okay, lady, because well, that's the thing too is that she kills like two guys on the boat, and then she like turns around and like empties an entire magazine at the guy and can't even hit him. I'm just like,
Aren't you trained to shoot for the head?
I know. I was just like, what's going on?
Maybe
guys
his
are right.
armor's
The more-
magnetic, Thomas.
You guys are right. The more you talk, I hate this movie. I hate it.
Well, I was going in. I was like, I'm not really looking forward to this because I enjoyed the first Black Panther. It's not my favorite, but I did enjoy it. And this one, the more and more I saw of it, I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy this movie. And I really tried, and I just could not. I couldn't enjoy this movie. I did like the music, though it wasn't used correct. It wasn't used correctly, is what I'm saying. But I did like the score itself. I'm trying to think of anything good I can say about this movie. I liked M'Baku. Is probably my favorite character in the whole movie.
Yeah.
He only gets like a couple scenes.
Yeah. One of the critics I watched pointed out, he's like, you know what? If Killmonger just waited like a few years, he would just have to kill like the 6-year-old woman and Shuri. That's it. Wouldn't have to deal with him or with T'Challa. He would just been dead.
Hey, she's
And
got
so it's
those
like-
arms, man. I don't know about
That's
that.
true. And I'll agree with one of the critics that I watched is that they should have recast. They shouldn't have killed off T'Challa.
No, I don't agree. That'd
Well,
have been weird.
The
That'd
reason
be
I
weird.
the reason I say that is because with this movie, there's just a lacking of it. There's a lacking of a central character and the Black Panther. And at the end of this movie, we still don't really have the Black Panther, quote unquote. We have Shuri, but it feels like it's a temporary thing. It's not.
Well,
real.
that's what Wakanda's
Right, but-
going through, man. It's
That's true.
reflecting the country.
But it's also like I don't think that Chadwick Boseman only carried the first movie because he's that good. He is or was, but the writing was good in the first one. Like I think that Shuri totally could carry this movie if they had written it just differently. Like it's kind of funny how that when the moment I say I like that scene where she becomes the Black Panther, she's a hero, but then she's kind of like an anti-hero right after that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
wait,
didn't like.
are we supposed to cheer for you? I'm so confused. Because like that should be her moment where she's like, all right, it's time to face our fears and what we need to become the hero of the story. And then she like turns kind of bad for a second. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But
didn't like
I don't
that
know.
either. I do like how they kind of went back to the Black Panther's lines in Civil War when they harken back to that, where he goes like, "I'm done letting vengeance like destroy me" or whatever. They kind of say that again in this one. I did kind of like that, but again, this movie would have been fixed by just having Michael B. Jordan take over as Black Panther.
Yeah, that would have been so
That's such a
awesome.
miss.
Because they could have had Shuri just like use him as her like vengeance that she feels, because he's totally, and then he could have got a redemption arc, being like, nobody likes him in Wakanda because he's like this murderous guy, and he ends up saving them. I mean, how cool of that would have
That would have
been.
been so dope.
Talk about like the voice of reason is M'Baku. He's like, this whole council like voted in Killmonger,
Yeah.
and I'm the one that didn't. So, but I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of like, also like the politicizing of a lot of stuff that I was just like, I don't care. Come on, man. I'm trying to like escapism is what a comic book movie for me is, and it's like I don't need this. And
It's heavy-handed at times for sure.
well, it was just obvious. It wasn't clever.
Yeah.
It wasn't well written. Like,
One thing I was conflicted about was the way they killed off T'Challa. Because going in, I was like, I kind of knew how they were going to send him off. But I kind of, when I was going in, I really wanted it to have like a heroic send off. Like maybe he dies saving Wakanda from like some big explosion or something like that. So what did you guys think about how they handled that?
I liked it. I actually really liked it. I thought it was very tasteful, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Real fast theater moment for me. Like, I was pretty sad when Chadwick Boseman like passed away. Like, usually with celebrities, I mean, all that okay. For him, it was really like, dang, I don't know why it hit me so hard, but I totally forgot all that was gonna be in this movie. So I'm just there with my popcorn going, and there's like this whole like moment of silence thing in the beginning. I was like, oh crap, like dang it, because I forgot it's gonna be in the movie. So I was like, oh man. But as far as like how they handle it, I didn't have a problem with it, to be honest. I thought it was handled pretty well.
It was like totally silent during the Marvel logo when they're like just showing Black Panther stuff, man. That was like eerily silent.
Yeah.
All right, any last words on Black Panther? Wakanda forever?
I was expecting a Starbucks in Wakanda, but they didn't.
Right? Oh, and like I was talking to Michael like right after the credits rolled, or the after credits, and they introduced the new prince or whatever. And I was like, Michael's like, so does this mean that her claim to the throne is invalid now? I was like,
House of Dragons.
I was like, is she gonna murder this child? But yeah, then Michael's like, it's like Game of Thrones all over. Let's do this.
The one thing I will say is that the reason why the trailer I think is so strong is because of his mom's speech, and I think that it was even better in the movie. Like that is my favorite scene in the movie by far. Like that movie, I'm getting chills right now thinking about that scene. Like that scene is so good.
It was real good.
Although in the trailer they made it look like she was telling that to like the U.S. like Senate or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I think would have maybe even been cool. I don't know. It's really good in the movie. Like that is such a good scene.
Also, who uses the French special forces? Like, they just like they go down like a few tiers. Like, what can we afford? Not Mexico, but the French could probably do this under a budget.
It takes them twice as long from all the breaks they have to take.
Cigarette breaks.
We'll